or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
We're here at this last kind of finish line for what I've been calling the season finale of America. And during this larger kind of race, there's been a statement that as soon as it happened, Robbie saw it happen on social media. We were finishing up our show last night, and Robbie's like, holy crap, Joe Biden just called Trump supporters garbage. And I'm like, no way. Yep. That's exactly what happened here, as, of course, the AP has an article here. Biden suggests, no, he didn't suggest. He said, first of all, Associated Press, that Trump supporters are garbage after, of course, responding back to the insult by Tony Hinchcliffe that made a joke and wasn't as serious as a comment as Joe Biden. As now, a lot of people have a lot of questions about this particular statement. There's some people trying to obfuscate it. Some people think there's a conspiracy here. I have my own reasons to believe what's really going on here, but here's the clip in its entirety.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Yeah, the Associated Press got it wrong there. You weren't suggesting, you were saying that they were garbage, as of course, after these comments, the predicted markets have gone absolutely haywire and are highlighting more of a potential Donald Trump victory, as a lot of people are now memeing his comments with these larger kind of betting markets that are highlighting overwhelmingly in the gambling markets that people do believe Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. What do you guys think of these latest comments? As of course, they're pretty hyperbolic. We just played a very kind of hyperbolic statement from Kamala Harris himself. It definitely does seem like the rhetoric is heating up. And how much crazier could it get?
I just want to say it's garbage can, not garbage can't.
Yes. There's a meme going around with Oscar the Grouch saying, with the MAGA hat on, making that same exact reference. And that's one way of approaching it.
I think Joe Biden secretly wants Trump to win.
I like this conspiracy theory. If
with the Trump hat, and it just seems like he was done really dirty. I mean, they kicked him out. He's entitled to a second term. It's never happened in history before. You would think that maybe he's just trying to be sneaky and make this. He knows what happened when Hillary said the deplorables.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating. This is sort of the thing that holds together the left. Is there are these comments made about Puerto Rico, and you can debate their accuracy, but it's anyone who doesn't believe that everyone is the same and equal. Like, that's who's trash. That's the core belief of the left.
Yes.
So they want to say that they're all about, acceptance and tolerance, but anyone who would suggest that differences exist between people or groups or these kinds of things, that's who's trash. That's the idea that can't be tolerated. And so, the way that all these comments over Puerto Rico, that's the way that this plays out.
The only thing they could pick out from the MSG rally was a roast comedian making comments about, he made fun of many different ethnicities and many different groups if you watch the whole thing, and all they could pick out from the whole thing, and they weren't talking about all the good things that happened there, all the Unity Party, all these amazing people coming together. All they could talk about was Tony Hinchcliffe making a comment about Puerto Rico when they do have a trash problem there.
Yeah, you don't see the Palestinians up in arms or up in rocks, like Tony Hinchcliffe would say during his stand-up at MSG, as of course his comments against them were pretty brutal as well as the larger situation in the Middle East. He didn't go light on anyone. And of course, we have to understand this was a totally different context to Joe Biden that, in all seriousness, called Trump supporters garbage. And I don't care how you try to obfuscate it. Tony Hinchcliffe was trying to make a joke. Joe Biden was making a very serious statement. Now, the motivation behind that statement we'll talk about in a little bit, but it does look like the Kamala Harris campaign is trying, according to Colin Rugg, try to manipulate some of the community notes that are on Twitter by now officially saying that no, he didn't mean it was Trump supporters. He was specifically just mentioning Tony Hinchcliffe and is that and they're literally people on social media right now just trying to obfuscate this as it's pretty clear what he said. There's no lying about it. And the first thing that I thought when I heard this, I was like, Biden, old Yeller, is sabotaging Kamala Harris. I mean, there's no other way to see it from my conspiracy mind, because automatically with the way that I think, and I'm like, okay, these politicians, they're very calculated. They're very careful with exactly what they say. There's a lot of scripted notes that are given to reporters, and they're told to regurgitate those notes. There's a lot of things that is just essentially all theater behind the scenes. And you're telling me that this just kind of slipped out by accident? I don't believe that. I think there's something larger at play here. And I think this was a larger kind of sabotage effort by Joe Biden against Kamala Harris. And individuals like Vivek Ramaswamy agree with me, as of course he recently had this to say on Fox News regarding that very specific comment.
Look, here's the October surprise. It just arrived. This is the basket of deplorables moment. That's what Hillary Clinton said in 2016 that tanked her campaign. Well, that's the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris moment right now.
And Vivek Ramaswamy is saying the kind of Hillary Clinton deplorable comment, which also played a big role with galvanizing a lot of people saying, I'm deplorable? What? You're demeaning me? You're attacking me? You're thinking I'm beneath you? I'm deplorable? Yeah, I'll accept that kind of larger tag, and I'll wear it as a badge of honor. And that galvanized a lot of people to, of course, support Donald Trump in 2016. So let's keep going on with the clip.
I am a little bit more cynical about this one, Sean, in the following way. It might look like Joe Biden's usual cognitive deficits kicked in, but the reality is we know his family is secretly probably rooting for Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris, to win because they feel really vengeful about how they were treated. So if you're in their shoes, you know that kind of comment is actually going to tank Kamala Harris. So we're going to put those kinds of motivations to one side. But regardless, it is a welcome October surprise because let's take a big step back. What's going on here? The wheels are coming off the car. They're spiraling. And now you see the accusations of the other side being Hitler or piles of garbage. You're going to hear a lot about threats to democracy in the next week. They are flailing, Sean. They understand Americans are not falling for their trick anymore. Donald Trump has a record that he's running on. They're frustrated by it. And I think it's, in some ways, a beautiful thing for our side to watch this completely come undone and turn the page on this ugly chapter of our history.
Is this beautiful? No, I say it's dangerous. I say it's reckless. I say it's also going to, of course, bring a lot of mentally ill people on the brink of doing a lot of stupid stuff. To me, seeing this rhetoric from Biden and Kamala, I mean, Kamala's rhetoric that we just played in the beginning of this broadcast deserves to be commented on too. But I don't know about you, Jeremy, but it definitely does seem like there's kind of a deliberate effort, a deliberate push to try to scare the crap out of liberals and leftists about a future Donald Trump presidency.
I don't understand how it works, but it certainly does appear to work for some of these people on the left. I was in New Hampshire door knocking for a great guy in New Hampshire. His name's Keith Ammon. He's going to make New Hampshire the nuclear power capital of the world.
What is he running for?
He's just a state rep, but he does some of the best libertarian stuff in New Hampshire, nuclear power, blockchain bills, this kind of thing.
What district?
He's a state rep. New Hampshire's 4 million state reps for a population of 1.4 million people, so it's like 4 state reps for every person.
Yeah, the Free State Project has their kind of local elections like really tuned in, and you guys do really great work when it comes to putting a lot of great people into local office.
Yeah. And Keith is one of the best. And I was knocking on the door of this totally liberal woman. She had that hate has no home, Harris Waltz signs, and I knock on her door, and I probably superficially look like a liberal, and so we're having this nice conversation.
The shirt gives it away. And
I wasn't wearing this one, but still. And we're having this nice conversation, and then I reveal the name of the candidate, and she just like recoils in horror. And she actually says, I can't vote for him. I just saw an ad. She literally credited an ad. She said this. I just saw an ad that told her that this guy was part of Trump's Project 2025.
Must
right?
be true.
And it's it's like it came through the television, and so therefore, that's true. And somehow, like what the television says, it has this grip on them to a degree that I don't really understand. I've seen it with my parents as well. They just kind of tend to believe what the TV tells them.
I think that's the biggest thing this cycle. I think that's pretty much what the Kamala campaign is doing. They're preying on people who really don't have time to do their own research, preying on people who are just kind of watching TV and believing what they're told. They're doing a lot of lies. If you go on Twitter, if you go on the Kamala headquarters, it's all like propaganda.
Yeah. But how does it, to me, it makes sense to start out believing these things, but there's so many things that they've clearly been wrong about. So how do you not update at some point on this stuff? Like I love my parents. This is another equivalent story to this. I was having this conversation with my parents about how Florida hates gay people. Right? They have this like don't say gay bill, and I was like, oh, like how does Florida hate gay people? Like what specifically? And they can't actually articulate specifically what Florida has done to hate, but they know that it's true. So like there's this simultaneous like superficial understanding of Trump is a fascist, Florida hates gays, whatever, but there's no underlying, like it's not based on anything. It's just been like repeated enough.
Exactly.
And it becomes true without any understanding of why it's true.
When you hear things enough times, my friend the other day was like, Trump's going to repeal the Constitution. I was like, the media's been telling him this. I'm like, no, dude, that's not true. He can't do that.
Yeah, he's working with Elon Musk, with people literally pledging to uphold the Constitution and giving out $1 million to people who signed the petition that promised to, of course, protect the Bill of Rights, which he's getting sued by the Philadelphia DA because of, which is another kind of interesting development here. But no, I really do think the language that's being spoken right now by the Kamala Harris campaign, by the corporate media, all in unison saying the same thing. Trump, 1930s funny mustache guy. Trump, he's going to lead us into fascism. Trump, he's going to destroy the Constitution. And I'm like, were you around for his first term? Like it wasn't the Reichstag burning down. All right, it wasn't the Enabling Act. That was called the George W. Bush years. I don't know if you guys remember those years, but that's a lot more of a favorable comparison to, of course, that funny mustache guy in the 1930s, especially when it came to eviscerating and destroying the American Constitution, our civil liberties, and any kind of semblance of privacy that we previously had before, which we don't anymore. But hey, that could be one reason why Joe Biden, because again, a lot of people are now speculating, why is he saying this now? We're at the last inning. The game's about to be over. It's about to be decided. And now Joe Biden kind of gives a slam dunk to the right. Some people are saying it's because he's old. A lot of people are saying, hey, there's a lot of bad blood between him and Kamala. He must know something that we might not know. It could be personal. It could be even bigger than that. And he deliberately sabotaged her. As CNN has this article saying Biden may have handed Trump a big assist with his garbage gaffe. Now, Kamala Harris's response to this is also very telling. We're going to play it right now.
Is going to bring us together, and that's the type of leader I intend to be.
Have you spoken to President Biden since his comment last night about garbage?
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as President of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not. That is my responsibility, and that's the kind of work that I've done my entire career, and I take it very seriously.
Have you spoken to him about his comments and his intentions?
He did call me last night, but this didn't come up.
Are you concerned about what impact this may have on voters, on the divisiveness of the election, and whether or not it's going to dissuade some people from supporting you because of your affiliation with the president and this administration?
I've been very clear with the American public. I respect the challenges that people face. I respect the fact that we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and that most people want a president that understands that gets that, and approaches their role of leadership that way. I've been very clear from my earliest years as a prosecutor I never asked anyone, are they a Democrat or Republican? The only thing I ask folks is, are you okay? And that's the kind of president I will be.
And what did you talk about with the president?
Madam Vice President, on a separate subject, last night you mentioned removing people in the country who are here illegally. What do you mean?
A lot of people are kind of shocked, and in the comment section are saying, she took questions? She actually did. And you could see she's kind of not very happy about Joe Biden's statement.
That's how you know she's desperate, if she's taking questions.
Yes, absolutely. As, of course, that's not what she did before. She hid away from the press until those poll numbers started to go down. And then when they went down, all hell just broke loose. Now, according to Frank Lutz, things started to go down when Kamala started to attack Donald Trump. I don't think that's the case. I think she's been attacking Donald Trump from day one. I think things started to go down the longer this campaign went and the longer there really wasn't any kind of larger substance with Kamala Harris. People were like, what are your policies? What are you going to do? And she just kept saying, I'm from a middle-class family. And the majority of people are like, okay, what are the policies? What are you going to do for us? And then she just keeps repeating that same line, just like she did yesterday. And that's not a lot of substance for the average American out there who's struggling, who's not doing good, and, of course, is dealing with more and more larger financial and economic troubles. So big development here. CNN even admits, hey, this does significant harm here, and this will be playing in the hearts and minds of a lot of people that are now using it as a larger rallying call. What do you guys think of Kamala Harris' reaction to all of this and how this will play out?
I think it's not necessarily Biden sabotaging Kamala. I think this is how a lot of leftists genuinely feel about Trump supporters. So it's possible that Biden's playing fifth dimensional chess or whatever, but I'm not sure he can play like two-dimensional chess at this point. So
I'm not sure he could walk.
So I think a lot of people really do feel this way, and even in terms of the fascist stuff, like in the same way that libertarians like to call even Republicans, socialists and this kind of thing. Like in my view, like 90% of Americans are socialists
and statists,
yeah,
and communists, in my opinion, too.
And so I think there is a phenomenon where if you get far left enough, that even very normal opinions feel fascist to you. That is how you experience them, because you want everything to be like lowest common denominator. Everything is permissible. Everything is allowed. So the idea that, we shouldn't have drug addicts in a park, or we should, in fact, consider whether it's a good idea to let a rapist into our country feels like fascism, because it's a judgment. And so the far leftism is like, everything is the same, no judgment of anything. And so someone suggesting that any kind of judgment exists, even what would be like, we all basically agree that this judgment should exist, feels to a certain contingent of the population like, quote, fascism.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of TDS going on as well. I think from years of just saying Trump is a threat to our democracy, I think you're programming these people. They're not showing they're not showing like the Tulsi Gabbards and the Elon. Their muse isn't going, oh guys, this is a unity party. They want to make America healthy again. They're not saying any of the positives. It's just Trump is a threat to our democracy. And I think the average person doesn't have the time to go and find independent journalism to find the real truth. And then when you see Kamala on like The View going like, what's the difference between you and Joe Biden? Nothing. I mean, it's just like those type of answers. It's like, it's not really motivating you to want to vote for her if you have a brain.
No, absolutely. As of course, a lot of these elections now are just larger ploys for emotional manipulation. And we kind of saw that with Tony Hinchcliffe's larger kind of joke that I think was just absolutely hyperbolically sensationalized by the corporate media that was clutching their pearls. How dare a comedian make a joke about Puerto Rico? And now, even according to pollsters, that joke actually didn't cause any change of opinions amongst Hispanics when it comes to, of course, their support of Donald Trump. But I do see the corporate media as a very kind of desperate entity, and I think this is why they are trying to hype up jokes from comedians as something that is a bad sign of things to come under Donald Trump. That's ridiculous, okay? That's absolutely insane. It was a joke from a comedian. Sure, it didn't land. Sure, it offended some people, but I like jokes that offend people. I prefer jokes that offend people rather than jokes that are absolutely not funny by all these woke comedians that are too afraid to even talk about the larger issues in our society because they'll be canceled if they joke about it a little bit too much here. So I think we're seeing something completely different. But Jeremy, you brought up a good point. You know, maybe this is not fifth generational warfare. Maybe it's just Biden saying the quiet part out loud, because a lot of these people do have disdain. They have weaponized the DOJ. They have weaponized all these regulatory bodies to go after their larger political opponents. You have been gone after by the FBI, the SEC. You have dealt with some serious pressures yourself, especially creating your online video platform. And you have, the stories to back it up. I kind of want to ask you in a little bit what you think might happen to Donald Trump, or more specifically, what's going to happen to Elon Musk under a Kamala Harris presidency. But the point that I really want to bring home is these people, they don't like you because of your political beliefs, because of your lifestyles. They don't like you having families. They don't like you being religious. And it really does seem like, it just kind of slipped out as well. And that's how a lot of central controllers, a lot of bureaucrats, a lot of Democrats really do think generally just about MAGA supporters and Donald Trump people.
Yeah. So I think one of the most, and I can talk about the persecution that I've faced or whatever. I think one of the greatest example of this that's played out over the last 5 years was the stuff around Haiti. Like, if there's a country that we ought to be able to judge, it's Haiti. Like, you can't really look at Haiti in any way and say that this is a country that, like, anyone wants to emulate. Haiti controls itself. Like, Haitians have to deserve some blame, for these outcomes. And when there's an acknowledgement that Haiti is a country where no one can make any money and it's full of trash, all the celebrities put on hats and shirts saying, like, Haiti is great already. And so we have to simultaneously believe that there's, like, the superposition of two beliefs, that there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. But then if there's absolutely nothing wrong with Haiti, why do so many of these people, need to or want to come here? And I think a lot of people who can see reality, like the reason that the comments about Puerto Rico don't bother Puerto Ricans is these are the Puerto Ricans who left Puerto Rico. And they left Puerto Rico for a reason, because they find America and Florida and other places, around the world to be preferable to them to Puerto Rico. And so acknowledging that Puerto Rico has problems is actually not going to be trouble for Puerto Ricans. It's trouble for this class of white liberals that doesn't want to believe that there can be differences between countries and people.
No, absolutely. You brought up a very kind of important point that is worth considering, especially with what we've seen also happen in North Carolina, especially what we have seen with the DOJ, especially what we have seen with a lot of pro-life activists, a lot of people like Steve Bannon, a lot of people like Roger Stone, a lot of people like Donald Trump that have had many very serious charges put up against them. Steve Bannon just got out of jail. So under a Kamala Harris presidency, I think we will see a larger kind of weaponization of the state against a lot of the people that have stood in her way now. I think Biden might even get potentially hit too with some charges, and the situation doesn't look too good for Hunter Biden as well, as there's a lot of heat right now on Joe Biden. But, you went through the gauntlet. I don't know if you want to speak to that just a little bit. And then I kind of wanted to get your perspectives on how it's going to play out in the future.
Yeah, so I faced a bunch of legal challenges when I was platforming and keeping some content online that the United States government did not want online. And I think there probably are enough people inside of the government who are aware of my activities, opinions generally, that they're happy to target me. So I also had the FBI visit my house for over unspecified, tweeting, just kind of a shakedown type of visit. The scariest thing to me is that it's not clear to me that it actually is directed. Like, I don't think that there's a small group of powerful leftists who called up the FBI. I think what's actually happened, and I actually think this is scarier than there being a small group, because if there's a small group, you can change that group and you can eliminate it. I think that there's this complex of incentives that's been created between journalists, powerful institutions, both inside and out the government, inside and outside of the government, where they're simply rewarded for this behavior. Like, even Trump being prosecuted in New York, I don't know that that's directed so much as a district attorney has the ability to do this, and the sort of leftist authoritarian power structure rewards individuals who perform this way. You're going to get flattering articles about you from all these journalist outfits. You're going to have prominent leftist individuals backing you up when you do these things. And so it actually ends up being sort of more of an emergent and unplanned. I mean, individuals are planning things, but it's not as directed, in my opinion, as it might seem. And I'm not saying that there aren't phone calls being made or nudges happening. I'm not saying that kind of thing doesn't happen. But the scariest thing to me is that there might not actually be anyone in charge of this power structure, right? We all can tell that Biden's not in charge. We all know that Kamala won't be in charge if she wins. But it's not clear to me that like anyone is in charge. You know, people will point out Soros or various individuals as having extra influence. I do agree that they're individuals with outsized influence, but I actually think it's this sort of incentive structure that's been created that feels somewhat headless. And that's scarier, by the way, to me. That's scarier because if there's a head, you can chop it off. If there's not a head, it's harder to stop.
So yeah, that's happening. As of course, I've been telling people to prepare for a very long time. I just released a video about how to prepare on lookundfiltered.com, a special secret, not so secret society where you get to join a lot of really cool, awesome people and be a part of the larger conversations that no one else really has. I go deep down the rabbit hole. I talk about my personal decisions. I talk about things that I do in my life that I am using information on in order to, of course, better it. And that's the information that I try to share with you in order to help promote, build, grow, and expand our human consciousness, wealth, prosperity, and liberty. Freedom is in your hands if you decide to act on it in the proper way. And I've built lookundfiltered.com 12 plus years of behind the scenes videos just on that basic model alone of trying to give you the tools, the information, the seed oil cards, the crap list of items you should be avoiding at the supermarket. That's all available for members of lookundfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Signing up is key, it's crucial, and it's more important than ever. Sign up right now, lookundfiltered.com. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. You go here, and whatever your budget allows, I know times are hard, but for just $8, 20 cents a day, you could sign up right here, click it, and then you just put in a little bit of information. You get emailed back a login. You log in, and you get a lot of really awesome values that are a lot more valuable than Netflix. You have a choice. You want to do Netflix, or you want to do lookundfiltered.com. Make that choice. Vote with your dollars. Vote with your clicks. Start to decide your own life path right now. 3 master classes that will teach you some really incredible skills. Do you want to sit there and be glazed by the satanic, evil, corporatist, demonic propaganda that plays on your subconscious and emotional, psychological weaknesses? Or do you want to be uplifted and, of course, enlightened and given information that a lot of powerful people don't want you to have? That decision is yours, and it starts with you signing up to lookundfiltered.com. Sign up there right now, and I will see you there right after this broadcast. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you signing up to lookundfiltered.com. And because you do, this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.